Yours, sir, you may formally proceed with your presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ali, and for a very generous introduction. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here this morning. I'm particularly grateful to Mai for giving me again, inviting and to do this webinar on case method. Again, thank you all of you who are attending from different parts of the world on this webinar. Welcome, and I promise you that this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful webinar. I just wanted to ask you before I launch the PowerPoint here, a quick question. How many of you are actually with me, about 30, 40, just to get a ballpark figure at this point?
From the attendees, about 12 of them.
12?
Yeah.
For now, okay. All right. Okay, so let me see here. Let me launch this. Just a quick 1 second. So this, how do I minimize the dialog box here so you can see? Are you able to see the complete screen?
Sir, we can see it. Yes, we can see it. Reinventing case method.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So shall we begin now, or should we wait for a minute, or shall we begin?
We can start as we are on time right now, so you can formally start the presentation. I think people will start joining us as we move forward.
Okay, wonderful. You know, I think if you look at this, I'm here in California. The time is about 8 a.m. on the West Coast, and I think it's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. So different parts of the world, again, all of you, welcome to this webinar. You know, I think when we talk about reinventing case method, particularly to increase the productivity and to figure out what sort of challenges and problems this method can help the companies and professors and students to really look for future with a strategy and leadership. I mean, that's the focus of our webinar this morning. And just if you see this slide, just last week I was in Saudi Arabia. I did actually an all-day, actually day and a half workshop on the case method and case studies and how this is going to benefit the teachers, professors, and industry professionals in their jobs. I did this just last week. So pleased to be back to the United States, and what a wonderful experience I had at Qasim University, just close to Riyadh, and I was received very well. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have done that webinar there. So I think what I'm going to focus on to consider this webinar sort of a workshop for all of us who are joining us this morning. And I think if you pay attention to this slide, one of the cases that I really like, very recent case of 2012, I've given the number also here, is when we talk about a vision for a company or a university or a profit or a non-profit institution, from a CEO point of view, what Mr. Paul Bulke, the CEO of Nestle Corporation, is talking about is to have a vision for a company, particularly a good vision. You don't need to actually change every year, every 6 months or every 9 months. A good vision should be good for a company or a university or wherever the institution is for at least 2 to 3 years. It has to be a dynamic vision, but you don't change course quite often. That's the point here. And the case method, what it tries to do to basically focus on the vision and the mission, strategy and the leadership. And I think if you are the professor or a teacher, there is a wonderful tool to get some feedback on what students are thinking as you teach your classes or present your cases on this website. I really like that. And it really improves and gives you an opportunity to do much, much better for the next time. It's called ratemyprofessors.com. You can go there and then see my performance there if you get a chance to. Now, so to this morning or this afternoon or evening, wherever you are, if you look at the agenda, I have a number of slides here, and this is the agenda that looks like here now. But I think from a case point of view, productivity and all of those things that we achieve in our daily life is, I think if you think about it, it's all about strategy and leadership in order to solve problems, challenges, and opportunities, and ultimately to really increase the bottom line, the productivity in terms of dollars or cents or the way you want to look at it. So we'll talk about a brief introduction. When we get into the objectives and types of cases, the actual case structure, writing, origin, collection, and few points on the interaction between the professor and the audience or the students. We'll talk about also the case study, some samples, some elements, and how do we construct that. And we'll also talk about the teaching notes, because every case comes with a teaching note, sort of a solution. And it is considered as not the final truth, but just a guideline what this case is talking about. And then, in case method terminology, there are no conclusions, so I'm not going to conclude this webinar, but I'm going to give you some recommendation and next steps, what you need to do, whether you're at a company or in an academic environment. And before I conclude that, I think what I would do is some sort of questions for you to think about. What does it do, this case method workshop or a webinar? What did I learn from this, and what do I need to do, sort of the next steps for you to think about? And we'll take some questions. And Ali, I think I have about 45 minutes for presentation and then 15-20 minutes for Q&A. Is that the correct assessment?
Right, Ali? Correct. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
You're right.
Beautiful. So let's just, okay, excellent. Thank you, Ali. So if you look at the case overview, what is a case? And what do we do with this case? And what do we learn from a case study? To me, primarily, I think it's all about strategy and leadership. Most companies, most institutions, whether it's the industry or academia, they are looking for formulating a strategy and provide leadership in the communities or in the organizations or in the corporations. And that's the goal. You want to address a problem, you need to have a strategy. And ultimately, the leadership needs to step in or grow from that. You can really address and solve problems. And this was primarily, in my point of view, that's what the case does. So it's all about strategy and leadership. I'm looking at something here. You may experience network connection difficulties. Are you guys able to see? Oh, connection has been lost. Okay.
There was a distortion, but we can hear you, sir. You can go ahead.
That's okay. Okay, all right. So let me continue, because I see some comments coming up with connection. So, but I'm going to ignore as long as you let me know if you're able to hear me or not. So I think what we're talking about from a case point of view, this morning we're going to really explore the strategy and the leadership from a case method discussion. Correct? Okay. If you say something, type something here, so I know that you're able to hear me, and let me continue to move forward. Okay. So if you look at the from a point of view of strategy and leadership, the actual art and craft of discussion leadership, which is what the case method does. People want to achieve success. They're ambitious. They have a vision. The protagonist or the CEO want to take the company or academic institution or industry to the next level. But the bottom line is there has to be a resolve and determination to execute what you are trying to address. So execution is the key. But in order for a company or an academic institution or as a professor to move to the next level, there has to be these elements. I think these are really important: ambition and vision and execution and determination to achieve the real success. Success that's viable, that's going to sustain or be sustainable for 3 to 5 years. That has to be a long-term approach or a goal, right? Okay. Now, I want to go back, take you back to about 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago, Harvard Institute, Harvard University, Professor Ronald Christensen made 2 points from this paragraph, and this is really profound. What it says is that when we talk about strategy and leadership and the case method, what we're trying to do, particularly for MBA program or graduate students, whether they are in medicine or law or engineering, wherever they are, right? To impact the quality of mind and the quality of character. This is what case method is supposed to do. That's the goal. Because in a company, for example, somebody's making $10 million or 10 million riyals, and someone is making $3 to $4 million or $3 to $4 million of riyals or $1,000, right? So you as a leader, because that's what is expected of the protagonist or the leader, to handle these day-to-day issues, long-term issues, your people, your process and technologies. How do you deal with that? And that's the point of the lead strategy and the leadership. And this is what the case, hopefully the case method will help. A few more slides on a broader perspective, because I really want you to understand what case does to you as a professor or as a leader in your company. What is case supposed to do? I mean, you really need to take a 360 degree overview of what case is really going to do to you. So to address problems and increase productivity, what really we need to know, where are we now? And how do we plan to get at some point? If we are at, from A to Z, if we are at C or D, how do we get to M, N, and O, P, Q to Z? What is the strategy? There has to be strategy to increase the productivity and address the problems. And this is primarily what case method, I'm hoping, will do it for you, right? Okay. All right, so if you look at the purpose and the goal this morning, is to achieve a few things. One is, my goal is to see that since you're here, to sort of train you, whether you are a leader or a faculty member, professor, or graduate student, undergraduate student, is to train you to use the case method to take you to the next level in your classrooms, in your training programs at your companies, because most companies have professional development programs, and they bring an expert, and then you go through the training. But I think a lot of companies, what we have seen in many experience, in my experience, is that there is a devoid of case method instruction. And I want you to think about using that in your professional development programs, right? And this is good for your promotion and reappointment, whether you're a professor or whatever level you are at a company. This critical thinking process, this is what we want to achieve this morning, to open your mind to multiple points of view so you become really a strong leader. I mean, this is what MBA does. The primary goal of graduate education is to become or make you a leader that has analytical and critical thinking skills. This is what the whole point of students going to Harvard and other schools to really become successful leaders. And I'm hoping that that Mile and Ali will give you some sort of a certificate or something will give it to you that you attended this program. I'm hoping, Ali, you will do that. If you haven't done that, and my request and suggestion to Mile and Ali, the moderator here, to think about issuing a certificate to folks who are attending these important webinars and seminars here.
In fact, we are working on this, sir, and there will be an online system to get the certification, and even also association with certain institutes for getting credit hours as well.
Beautiful. Please do that. Please do that. I think it's important because when you walk away with something in hand, you feel really good.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're talking about leadership. And for leadership, from a case method point of view, you're always looking at the vision. What is the problem this case study has, and how am I going to address? And then you really start thinking about what is the vision of this company. And in order to develop the strategy and implement and execute the strategy to solve the problem or an issue, is you have to have a vision. And then in the process, what you're basically trying to do is develop the leadership. This is what we're trying to do. And if you're trying to do something else, I think you're missing the point. Seriously, I think you're missing the point. So if you go through a phase one, develop the foundation, determine the change, what is needed, and primarily execute. You know, sometimes companies and academic students, institutions have wonderful 5-year, 10-year, 3-year plans, but they don't get executed simply because excuses. Budget is a problem, leadership is an issue, sometimes team dynamics, egos, all kinds of challenges. So execution and implementing the change, keeping that vision in mind is very, very important as you go through the case. So the question for you, and you can type in the text chat area, is that what is the most effective and enjoyable way to learn and solve management issues? Because case method or case study, what it does is that it addresses the management issues and problems. And I'm trying to squeeze this, what I did the last week in Sim University for a day and a half, in an hour here, 45 minutes. So I'm going to be going very quickly. So at least one or two people, if you can say something here in the text chat area. What is the most effective and enjoyable way to learn and solve management issues? What is it?
Well, folks, again, the question posted on the screen.
You don't have to speak. I know this is sometimes it takes time.
What is the most effective and enjoyable way to learn, solve management issues? Well, we are reading, somebody said, open communication.
One more.
And, okay, I see people, some typing.
Okay.
On-job trainings.
On-the-job training, okay. One last one. I like the number 3.
Well, communication is another one.
Communication is another one. I think those are all good answers. But I think if you really want...
Trial and error, another one.
Trial and error. Okay, wonderful. No, I think they are excellent answers. But I think what my message to you this morning is that the best way and the most enjoyable and effective way to learn and solve problems are not textbooks, are not research articles, or not some news media. It is the case study. Because the more, if you read, start with one case to 2 to 3 to 10 and 15 or 50 cases if you solve, believe me, you will become an expert. This is the best method to really improve communication skills, thinking ability, creativity, all those things. Because what you do when you have a cases in your hand, when you're trying to address the management issues, once you get the habit of addressing and thinking about what do I need to do to solve an issue or a problem, management issue, believe me, you really have to, and it's going to change your perspective on no matter how the problem is or the challenge is difficult, you will develop the ability to at least address and then produce or present some solutions. So to me, I think a case method or case study is a wonderful way to do it. Keep that in mind as we move forward. Okay, so what is a case study and what makes a good case, right? So what case is primarily, it's a story. It's a business or a management, a real life situation. And executives or the CEO or the CMO or CFO, the senior leadership or line managers, whoever are responsible for people, process, or technology, they have an issue or a dilemma. And I'm going to talk a lot about this dilemma issue. And they want some sustainable, a viable outcome. This is primarily a case. If a case has no problem, you can just throw it out of the window. Because it's not a case, it's a research article or a story or some nice reading which has no point. So case must have some dilemma and is asking you, begging you, requesting you to solve the problem, to address this issue, to address the dilemma. So never ever forget what case is all about, right? Okay, beautiful. So when you read the case, you take a step back. And the process is, and the best thing would be you read or review individually, then go to the group and you review as a group, and then start thinking about what are some of the solutions and what are some of the things that I offer, bring it on the table and address these issues. So you start from the vision, mission, strategy, and primarily at the bottom, as you see, what is the mechanism of the execution? Because where are we heading? Who are we? I mean, this is in a case study, you need to ask this, keep this diagram or the triangle that is here. Always draw this. Take a piece of paper. Keep the case study in your hand. Draw this diagram. If you address these issues the way I'm requesting you to do, believe me, your solutions, not one, you will have 10 different solutions to offer to your senior management or whoever you are trying to address to this case study, right? So vision, mission, strategy, and execution. Please do this. And I think the process is going to be easy for you, and then it's really going to open up your brain cells to achieve a distinct solution. Okay, so it has a problem or a situation, it requires analysis, and at the end, you're looking for a decision. If you're not solving, I don't know what you're doing. So the case has to be solved. And there is no, as I'm going to say, there is no right or wrong answer. Whatever at that point of time the team or a person decides, that's the answer. So case study primarily does the critical thinking skills. If you remember the Bloom's taxonomy, and it has been revised a number of times, application, synthesis, and analysis, that's what the case study does. So features of a case, what is important is the instructor or somebody who's trying to, what is the procedure that you're going to take? That's very critical, because that's going to shape the outcome of that problem or an issue, management issue. And to me, in life, I think, and this is sort of a general comment number 3, is the attitude. I mean, nobody will teach you that. And then you really have to develop this to train your mind to have the right attitude, particularly if you're in a group setting or in the C-suite, to really take the company or the institution to the next level, right? So the group dynamics with the right attitude to solve the case is very, very important. And primarily the case has to be an open-ended, because if you box the problem, right, and that's not a really sustainable or a viable solution that you're offering. So the case has to be an open-ended, and then a lot of formulation strategy and listing the assumption for the case is talking about. In any case, the most important character is a protagonist, right? Primarily it's the central character, or the CEO, or the professor, or the dean, or the manager, whoever this person is. This person, he or she, has a problem, and is asking you to solve the problem. That's primarily the thing. So the protagonist, to understand the protagonist is the key issue. And how you address and solve is your job, right? Because this is what you are requested to do. Okay. Now, in the other things, so I'm giving you the sort of elements of the case. So whenever you're trying to address a problem, you think about protagonist, you think about a cold call. If you're a professor, cold call primarily means if you're expecting a telephone call, if you're not expecting a telephone call, or an email, or a text message, or something tweet, or some sort of a message these days using social media, you're not expecting, but you receive. That's a cold call, right? That's primarily what, in an instruction format, the professor is supposed to do to ask somebody, what is this case about? That's a cold call. So Mr. Tom or Ahmed, whoever is being addressed, was not expecting, but this received this cold call, right? So that's a cold call. So remember the protagonist and a cold call in a case. Okay, all right. What you also need to remember is the case is not a piece of research. It's not. Because research papers and articles primarily have a hypothesis, assumptions, and conclusions and implications of the case. So primarily it's a solution. So this thing has a complete package. So that's not a case. If you're providing a solution, it's not a case, right? So case is not a research paper. It is also not a summary of a company, because the case is not supposed to provide everything about what's in the company. If you do, then what are you trying to address? Nothing. And it's also not a marketing tool. Meaning that a case is not trying to promote a particular product or a service or institution. So it's not a marketing tool for any featured organization. Case is something else. What we talked about as a problem, as an issue, and you're supposed to solve. Okay, so case describes a scenario. Primarily, the peoples are involved, there are some influences, the group dynamics, and then you need to be involved and solve the issue. So then you take a step back, you go back to, again, and the reason I want you to understand this is as an MBA student, as a professor, or the leader of a community or organization, this should be always in front of you. The mission, vision, strategy, processes, systems, performance, behavior, ultimately the results, right? So in business terminology, what we say is performance management systems. You start with a goal and a mission, and eventually bring all these things together to have a solution or strategy. So divide your case, break into pieces, and address the issues accordingly. And your solution is going to be really, really amazing, right? So when we see management cases are generally written by business school faculty, because they teach, they know their students, they know the problems. So this is primarily done by, it doesn't mean the law and the medicine and engineering other professors or other institutions don't do. But in general, what you need to keep in mind, this is done by business faculty before they publish, they teach a number of times, and then they publish the case. So again, remember that going back to the theme of the title, what you're trying to achieve is, you're trying to uncover the problems. What are some of the hidden problems that this case is trying to be solved? And as we said in the title, is the productivity has to be increased, the profits has to be maximized, and the leadership has to be developed. Those are some of the salient features, right? So and in the case it comes with, always comes from most people who write the case, they write a teaching note or a solution, and it's carefully crafted in a way that the answers that are available in the case doesn't mean that's the right answer. You as an individual, or you as a group or a team, or your company, or your dean or your professor or department can come up with very different solution, which is fine, because that's the solution that's best for that institution, not necessarily the solution that is produced or given to you by the teaching note. So Socratic method, primarily most people understand, is a direct question. So Socrates, great philosopher, Western philosophy, has a huge impact, and this is the style is you ask directly. There's no, and I think this is so difficult. I've taught in the business school, various schools here in the Bay Area in California, and I primarily teach MBA program using case method. And what is most important, and I have seen my growth from assistant professor after my PhD to associate, and now I'm a full professor. What I saw is that it's so difficult to stop lecturing. And it's difficult because, leaders like to speak. Professors like to teach and lecture. And the case method is not about lecturing, so you really have to apply brakes and take a back seat and then let the leadership among the students and the employees develop. Let them debate, let them argue, let them, reflect on a situation or a problem. So Socratic method is a great method. The challenge is, people want to talk a lot, right? So it's difficult. So limited lecturing, not. So the way it works, so Socratic professor invites a cold call to a student to present a summary for the case that is assigned. I hope that, I wish there would be a format. Hopefully Mike can do a suggestion. Perhaps, I'll be hopefully involved in a series of webinars in coming months and years, is that we actually give a case or number of cases to people who are attending, and then they review, and then instead of an hour, perhaps we can increase the time to an hour and a half and really have an engaging discussion and solve cases and address management issues, right? So then you go back to, again, the reason I really want you to understand is that you're not just learning the mechanics of the case, or you're not just trying to, throw some bunch of solutions to the case. You are thinking really, really big, which is the mission of the company or the institution. And the objective. So in a dynamic strategy that is aligned with the vision and the mission and the goals and the tasks of what is being done. Because with that in mind, you offer solutions. Solutions will be very, very different. And there won't be just short-term solutions. There will be long-term solutions. And it will have a lasting impact, which is good for the institution or the company. I mean, that's what you want to do, right? So I'm not going to go into the details how the case was done, Harvard Business School, skilled teacher, effective, and all of those things are there. The philosophy, if you look, think about this. I'm hoping that I'll complete all the slides, but I really enjoy and I like the case method. So at least we'll cover a few things this morning. If you think about the philosophy of the case method, it's not really deductive, meaning you're not saying, you know, this is the solution. You're leaving the solution in the hands of the MBA students, engineering and management students, or law students, or your employees, you as a CEO, you as a line manager or VP or director. You're saying, I got this problem. I need your help. Help me out. Help me address the problem. So sort of inductive, not really deductive. Probable, you say, you know, as a team, as a group, as an individual, you know, I say, here are 10 different probable solutions. You can't say, well, this is it, right? So experience versus lecturing. You know, the use of textbook and PowerPoint presentation is old style. It's gone. It's done. Don't do it. Bring some experience in the classroom or a work environment. Learning by doing is very important rather than just, you know, sitting in the classroom, sitting in some theater style company conference room and just observing. You have nothing to offer. I mean, you know, people forget that. A number of PhDs, number of MBA students, a number of people with graduate degrees and bachelor's and master's degrees in a company situation, they have a mind and it's not being used. Really, tap that brilliant mind of your employees and your students and your coworkers and your faculty members and your deans to really come out with a really excellent solution, right? So I think when you think of from a company situation, if you are in a company, why do you want to KISS when you do a professional development seminars or when you invite experts to boost the morale, you go to a retreat, you spend thousands of dollars. Most companies do that. Why are you trying to do? Primarily as a leader or leadership, my suggestion using a case method is your job is to influence. This is primarily the core. A leader, if nothing else, what he or she does is to influence his people, her people, his community, his institution, whether it's a non-profit or a profit or company. This is what leaders do. And you as a dean or a professor, or you as a CEO, your job is to influence. Because when people are influenced, they, believe me, they will do exactly the way you would steer them to the vision of that institution or a company. So and this is what I'm hoping the case method will lead you to. So use them, right? Okay, all right. So I mean, this is more academic point of view. Most people don't read case. They don't come prepared to the classroom. This is not just students. Sometimes professors are not really prepared because case and a case methodology, case workshop is hard work. It requires your time, it requires your attention, because if you want to take your institution or company to the next level, to really have, in a marketing terminology, competitive advantage, this is not an easy task. It takes time and effort. So if you look at the number 20, 40, 80, 20 rule or 60, 40 rule, and it shows a not necessarily laziness, but it shows a lack of attention. And this is what is required. So, and this PowerPoint will be available to you, all of you, on Miles' website. Ali's going to do this after the presentation, so you can read that. And primarily, I've been emphasizing is that in a case methodology or case workshop at your institution or company is, what you really want is to develop a deeper understanding. Because the more you dig deeper, the solutions are much better. Because what you're doing from a primary understanding from multiple points of view, point A, B, C, D to go to a deeper understanding. For example, I'll give you one quick example. Target company here in America, there was a breach of customers' private data, names, phone numbers, email, credit card numbers. They were all stolen. And this is the biggest heist, or somebody hacked into a person, a group of people, into target database and stole all this information. It's a huge, huge, in the history of American corporations, biggest heist. And then now this is what they're trying. They're going back to the table. Case, what a wonderful case. I'm hoping that somebody will write. I'm going to attempt that. In the next 2 years, you will read a case on Target. What happened? And as a company or a leader, they are now going into a deeper, deeper understanding. How do we close this? What are some of the vulnerabilities? Firewall, who did this? How did they get into our system? And how do we respond to the customers? Because what is a case does to you? What is it asking you to do? I have product, I have services, whether it's a company or an institution, academic institution, right? You have those two things. If somebody stole that, now you're going to lose the customers big time. So when there are no customers, there is no company, there is no business. So look at the importance of the case methodology. The idea is to really dig deeper. This is what Mr. CEO of Target is doing now with his team. You know, I need to respond to my customers. How do I keep them coming back to my website and my stores? And how do I not shut down or sell my company because I can't, it's not sustainable, right? Because I don't have enough customers. So this is what, if nothing else from you get from this webinar, please, please, please remember that from the vision, mission, and all those things, strategy and leadership I talked about, your goal is to get to a deeper, deeper understanding of solving the management issue. You know, your goal is not to go to the textbook, not to memorize, mug up things, right? That's not the issue here. The issue is with limited lecturing, you're trying to develop the leadership. This is what the MBA students are supposed to do, become leaders, manage corporations, manage companies, manage countries, right? Okay, all right, govern countries. Again, this is some examples of just teaching methodology and some history, and where the cases are available. People call case study or case method, problem solve learning, problem-based learning. Some people call this a critical incidents. That's fine, non-business institutions, right? So variety of names are given to this process. Harvard Business School and professors, leading practitioners of the business school faculty, right? One of the important things in a case method that you really need to pay attention, and this is why I was emphasizing about the vision and mission and the strategy and the leadership, is that there are some exhibits. What I usually instruct request my students or my teams wherever I do seminars, Saudi Arabia here or anywhere else, right, is to, the first thing you need to do, draw the diagram, what I talked to you about, the leadership diagram, the triangle, and look at the exhibits. There's some figures and diagrams. That's the first thing I do. Is that because once you see that, you have some picture or some frame of mind of what is this about, and then you go back to the drawing table and start to deconstruct and then construct, right? Okay, participants, I think one of the things, the problem is that a story that is being told through this methodology is that whether it's a compelling story or not. And that you need to figure out individually or as a team or your group from a case study. So it gives it points of view, concepts, and at the end I think what you're trying to do, integrate theory and practice. This is what the case is supposed to do. So to take you back to the fundamentals of business processes, what are some of the grounded theories, and how do I bring that into practice and solve the issue, right? Again, there are some numbers what case study does. To me, you know, having taught for so many years, what case really does is that it improves your interpersonal communication skills. a lot of people in the classroom or some employees don't speak much. They're very shy. But this methodology puts them in a group situation that they have to contribute something. So social skills and communication skills and all those skills improves, right? In other words, it's a participative method. You have to be involved. And then the benefits, there has to be, preparation and the purpose, they become crystal clear to you. All those things are there, right? And I've already talked about medicine, law, engineering, and public policy, and teacher education. The good case, I think one of the things that I want to mention here is a really good case. It has to be a relevant case, seriously. Because if you're taking a case study 30 years from 1960 or 70, some of those solutions, some of those methodologies have changed, right? It may not be relevant to this day and age of social media. So I think what we need to do, perhaps a 5-year time frame is good for the case to be relevant to the current situation or problem, right? One of the things that I've already mentioned here is the case should not have conclusions. There should not be stated conclusions in the case. If it has conclusion, it's not a case. So you can just throw it, right? Okay. Different names are given to case. If you look at the types and objectives of the case, one of the most important things these days, because of the social media, a lot more folks are emphasizing on social skills because knowledge, particularly half knowledge, is really dangerous. The other thing is skill. Skill is good. Communication skill, other skills, very, very good. But to me, as I said before, is the attitude, having a right attitude. So the objective has to be make a decision, engage the people, develop the social skills, and all those things. So identify problems, performing analysis, and action, right? In other words, the objectives, learning objectives has to be achieved through the case. And one point from this slide is there is no right answer. Now the question is, then what are we talking about? What does it mean? If the case, you solve a problem, and then you say there is no right answer, what it means is that there is a good answer, there is a better answer, right? It doesn't mean there is no answer. So you really have to think through this process. Right answer for you, for your institution, for your team could be very different what I want from my institution, my company, right? So that's what it means. There is no quote-unquote right answer, right? And most people and companies and academic institutions, case studies are strengthened by somebody who has really done something like supply chain management, for example. I'm just giving customer service or customer relationship management. Somebody who has actually done it at a very high level. Bring the person in the classroom or a company and let the employees and students know how this is done. Because you, perhaps, as if you're a professor, you are in an academic institution, primarily you do the research, you may not have the practical experience. If you have it, that's great. But strengthen the seminars or the classroom with some expert, right? From this slide, characteristics, I think one of the things is the dilemmas are solved. You have to solve the problem. And if you're doing everything else, not solving the problem, I don't know what you're doing, right? Okay. All right. So again, if you look at the active and passive learning, lecturing to textbook to case, wonderful ideas and engaging and offer ideas, and the case really changes the perspective. So you're looking at the results from problem solutions to the results. So there are a number of types of cases out there, company cases, individual cases. There is something called armchair cases, meaning it's fictitious case. All it's trying to do is to give you a scenario which may or may not have happened and asking you to solve the problem, which is good, but it's not real, right? But at least you will, as you go through the exercise, you develop that skill set to solve the problem, right? Okay, beautiful. And I think if you, so there are two types of cases. Classic case, it has a lot of issues to be solved, detail, and there are some very mini caselet cases, short, which most professors or in companies people do in their development programs for undergraduate students or some employees, may not be CEOs, some other folks, just to expose them to how to address and solve the problems, right? I think if you look at the advantages and disadvantages here, teamwork is the key advantage. Improves the communication, but at some point, you have to stop the discussion. You do, because you don't have infinite amount of time to keep going in the loop, right? Okay. Assumptions, business knowledge, of course, and the most important, the leader or the instructor or the professor needs to know the boundaries of the case. He or she needs to know the territory primarily. Again, I've been repeating here, there's no conclusion, no storied conclusion in a case, right? Cases are used. For me, I think it's faster reflection. This is the point I want to emphasize here. Really, what you're trying to do with your employees to uncover the hidden problems, remember that, and develop the strategy and the leadership, what you're trying basically is having them reflect on a situation, management situation or business situation. Have them reflect on that. If collectively, individually they reflect, it improves their, it's good for their professional careers and good for the company or the academic institution. How big the case study should be? 7 pages, 10 pages, maximum 25 pages. If you're giving a 100-page case study, nobody will read and you're lost. I'll give you one quick example. For example, from a political point of view, just to give you a quick example, is that what's happening in Ukraine and Crimea right now is that there is some situation. And 2 to 3 years from now, the Russian government or Ukrainian government, whoever is responsible, is going to publish a case or a story from their point of view. If you read that case, basically it's an informational case and the solutions may or may not be there. So the idea is that that's a different case issued by a government agency, much different than academic institution or company who does the case. So the idea, and that Crimea case may be 500 pages, right? So, but for business or engineering, medicine, and law, primarily 25 pages. I think to me 25, 30 pages is enough. If you look at the structure of the case, perhaps if you write a case, writing a case, selecting the subject or topic is very, very important. Do some research, teaching objectives, and to me, I think one of the biggest thing is credible sources if you're writing a case. If you're contacting a company, the protagonist or a CEO or a manager, make sure that the information that you are going to produce in the case or share with the employees or the students, right? If that information is not credible, your neck is on the line. So you really have to do checking, de-checking, and make sure as you share the information. Credible sources important. Create an outline, who are the key players, how much money and budget is needed, who is going to do the interview, collect the financial data, take pictures, and do all those things, right? So it really requires time, personnel, and the funding for writing the case. So these are some of the steps before you publish the case as you go through. And I think the key point from this slide is multiple drafts. Don't just publish the case once you write and it's done. And you really need to think through. What are some of the other issues? Remember the point of slide, deeper understanding is the key here. The protagonist, the CEO, the president, do you have access to that as you write the case? To that person, because through interviews, through email, social media, how you're going to contact, communicate, and manage expectation, because it's very important. What is that you want to achieve from this? From contacting a protagonist, or as you deal with your team when you write the case, and this is very important, right? So once you have developed the case, obviously you're going to defend, pitch the case, share with the students and the employees, and perhaps you'll solve the problems. If you look at very briefly the structure and the title, you need to really identify what are you going to be asking your employees or the students to solve. What is the central problem? The first paragraph has to be, and the title has to have the meaning. As we said, uncover problems, hidden problems, and to get to productivity and the leadership. Means once you have a clear title in the first paragraph, you're primarily saying, this is what we need to do, and let's solve the dilemma or the problem, right? Okay. The background information, 3 to 7 pages to provide, but don't provide the solution. What is the central person, who is the character, and how do you get to the decision point. You're just directing your folks in a direction where you want them to go, right? Okay, that's how the background industry and the competition will provide in a case. As you write the case, culture of the company, challenges, and how do you connect with the background. That's very important. And you know, don't simplify, because if you give away all the keys to the city, right, it's very easy to enter the town, right? So don't be too simplistic, because then the fostering reflection and deeper understanding will be too easy, and there is nothing to be achieved from this exercise, right? Decision point has to be really in detail, subheadings, describe the dilemma, give some background, sense of urgency has to be there, and what are some of the central person what is thinking about, right? I talked about the exhibits and the end note. Sometimes people write the end note giving some direction to what are some of the areas that then go and do the research and make sure that your solutions are much stronger. This part I really want to emphasize interaction. Again, remember that you as a leader of a company, as you do the training programs, or a professor is, remember that you may be an expert, but you are a co-learner, and this is very difficult for leadership and the professors to think that in their mind that, you know, as I teach this case, as I become part of this exercise, I'm also learning. So that vision and strategy and execution and mobilizing, managing people, all those things, you are also learning. Don't ever forget that, because we don't consider ourselves an expert. We're never experts, because as we go through life, we're always learning. And it's sometimes difficult because the professor and student has that deductive mentality. So we need to really change that perception, right? Some of the teaching, learning, because, you know, as somebody who's 20-year-old is going to learn very differently than somebody who's in 42 or 32, right? So these are some of the things that that are mentioned here, how teaching people learn. And then sometimes as a leader or professor, you play the devil's advocate or attorney, and in America, as we say, not advocate. So the idea is to say, you know, if somebody gives you an answer, then ask them why. Why do you think it's like that? Then the other people will start thinking, and then more multiple points of view are presented and discussed, and that's good for the company, for that product or a service, right? It's really and thirdly, they really need to have to read the case and to make the decisions. Some of the challenges from professor's point of view, you know, when you teach the class or you write the case, sometimes the goals are really not clear. You don't have much time, you're really busy. Preparation is the key. People think that I've taught the case for 10 years, I can just walk into the classroom. Leaders think that, and then they can do it. They can, because every case is very different. Every management issue is different, right? So lack of experience, lack of commitment. So these are common challenges. And what I do, my professors, or what I really keep questioning my team, keep questioning your employees, clarify, challenge them, because the more you raise the bar, it's good for your company or the institution, right? And remember, and this is difficult for leaders also, and then professors, you're not the center of attention. Just forget about it. You're not the center of attention. The center of attention are your employees and your MBA students or whoever they are in front of you. And you want them to be the leaders, right? For your product or a service to really be competitive. So let's keep that in mind. Again, knowledge, skill, and attitude. And I always emphasize having the right attitude will take you to places. Not the knowledge, not the skill. Okay, but those are things that are important. Organizing, planning, preparation, very important. And in order to conduct a class or conduct a training seminar or something at your company for the employees to learn a few things, planning, preparation is the key, right? Again, a complete roadmap is given here from a learning objective to the post-case discussion is important. Again, some of the key points here, I think hopefully You'll have a chance when you get the case to go through this PowerPoint slide. What are some of the key steps, list of key issues to solve the problems. Do that. Then primarily, I think, what is the essence? What are you trying to achieve? If your product is not selling, is it the pricing is the issue? Is the packaging is the issue? Or you're targeting to the wrong audience? What is the problem, right? So the essence is very important. And who is your target audience and how do you structure it, right? Beautiful. Again, the analysis part goes from a situation to integration and conceptualization, right? Okay, beautiful. Some of the questions needs to be as you guide your employees and your graduate students, particularly, to keep these things in mind when asked by asking questions. Keep drilling them, debate, foster, stimulate, and then ultimately summation is the key. Open-ended questions is the key point here. Keep your mind, keep their mind. Ask them to be open-ended. Keep asking and challenge them with the sort of action question, challenging questions, right? Okay, there's a quick example, and we talked about individuals, small group to a larger group. How we solve the case is by going through different steps as you recommend or suggest a solution, some of the contingency plans, and again, I think from a decision-making point of view, and these are some of the steps that you have to go through to really make a sound decision, right? So I'm hoping that I'm going to provide Ali a sample business case, Nestle Corporation, my first slide, the vision slide, the team strategy. So I'm going to provide this case, cost-free, and then I want you to, after this seminar, read the case. It's not a big case, few pages, and what I want you to do is draw the diagram or the figure of the triangle vision mission we talked about, and I want you to solve that. As a team, sit with the individually first and with the team, and my email and is provided, so you can send me emails and hopefully we'll have post case discussion. I'm going to take, Ali, how many minutes I have before I take questions? A few more slides. Conclude.
Well, you can take another 10 minutes. I don't know. Go ahead, sir.
How many? 5 minutes?
Yes, sir.
2 minutes? Okay.
Take 5 minutes.
Because I have a few more slides. 5 minutes. Okay. Because I have some important slides. Okay.
Sure.
So this is the homework, and these are some of the sample cases. If you want additional some sort of training, and I'm available. Believe me, feel free to ask me questions. This is not the end. I'm hoping this is just the beginning. We'll have hopefully long-term contact. So ask me questions, send me email on different types of cases that I'm listed here. Teaching note. Teaching note was important, especially if you're interested in not only reviewing the teaching note, but writing a teaching note as you write a case. Some of the steps you follow from a title, you have to provide the synopsis of the case in first 3-4 lines. You have to do that because people lose interest if you don't. Right? So teaching objectives to the assignment question. Assignment questions are important in a case. You have to list the question. What are some of the questions? If you don't, then they will all go in all kinds of directions. So as part of strategy is you ask few questions. And that doesn't mean those are the only questions that will come up from the case. But you have to take them to a certain direction. Okay. Again, some of the things I mentioned here, so have some sort of a board or the C-suite plan. How are we going to address? And even if you are a CEO or a manager in a company, every day you have a solution. I mean, every day you have a challenge or an issue. And addressing with a board or your team is so critical. And this is why the case methodology is so important, that it will train your mind. So when you get to the C-suite, you are ready to tackle and handle any situation or any problem, right? So these are some of the teaching points. Again, the idea is not just the quantity or the quality, but does it have an effect or an impact on the outcome? So the process is mentioned here. You know, as I said, it takes almost a day to go through this, and we are trying to do this in 45 minutes. So case teaching notes are very important. Faculty are busy, If you just write a case, if you don't write a teaching note, nobody's going to adopt or read your case because people are busy, right? And most faculty, most leaders, most trainers in a company pick the case for their employees and training and MBA students if there is a solution. Because sort of easier for them also, they don't have to really worry about, what am I trying to do with this case, right? Okay, so teaching are important. Again, this is the steps, synopsis, audience, objectives, teaching plan, and so you get to the conclusion part. Mistakes in teaching note is not really a case. People think that writing a case, but it's not a case. It's an article because it looks like an article, right? It's very superficial, 2-3 pages. Nothing is there. So it has to be 15, 20, 25 pages. No clear objectives, all right? Mistakes, lack of clear teaching objectives. Too much lecturing. And this is hard, as I said. People love to talk, people want to lecture, so don't do too much lecturing. Not having a teaching plan is also important. Let the lead they're busy, they're family, they're working, they're taking evening class, especially MBA students, they are taking weekend class. They don't like cases. They want the professor, they want the leader to come talk for 45 minutes to an hour, give them solution, they go home, right? It's very challenging. And tackling problems is not easy, neither for the company, not for the students. So they don't want to think. They want to stop thinking. They want to be spoon-fed. People expect in the classroom for a lecture. So they come to Harvard or wherever you, Kasim or wherever university you are, they're expecting a lecture from the professor, but the professor is not lecturing, and that's a problem because they don't want to solve the case or study and work hard. And public universities, this is all over the world, Saudi Arabia, United States, Europe, Southeast Asia, language problem. Not everybody speaks English. And most of the cases, fortunately or unfortunately, are in English. That's a big problem, right? And a lot of trained faculty in a case methodology, trained leadership in a company is not there. Problem. Students expecting a lecture, problem, right? Also, number 3, what's the optimum size of class? To me, I think 25 is a good number. If you can have 90 and 100 as Harvard does, that's fine. But they have a lot more resources. But if you are a school or a company, if you have resources, fine, 100 is fine. But I would say 25 is a good number so that you can really communicate with each person, each employee, and really have that dialogue with them, right? Number 4, how do you assess? How do you know your employees have really learned something? The key is not giving a midterm or a final exam. You want to do it, or writing a paper. The key is participation and engagement. Are they raising their hand? Are they thinking when their discussion is going on? That's how I grade my students. That's how, when I go out to different places and do this, and I want to see whether they're thinking on the spot, because that's what the leaders are supposed to do. Number 4, Can we adopt a case in a nonprofit area? Of course we can. Because even in nonprofit institutions or companies, they have to survive, right? So there has to be some numbers involved, some solutions have to be found, right? So this is important. And the final point is, while cases are true, they're not the truth. And you understand what I mean. That's not the final word, right? So that's what I meant. Okay. All right. So again, wrap up, creative process, high learning payoff, persuasion, negotiation, communication, social skills, multiple perspective, all those things, knowledge, attitude, and skills, you really achieve this if you really pay attention, invest your time, energy, and resources in a case methodology, whether in a company or academic institutions. Again, some of the things what it does. So my assignment to you, if you are a company leader or a dean or a manager or a teacher professor, have recognition, recognize people for using the case methodology, give them a prize, have a competition, let people engage, and then give them some annual award, however you want to do it. Because, I think everybody likes to be, recognized or given some money, some award, some certificate. Do that, okay? All right. Okay, so I'll stop here. Q&A. I know there is a lot of information I just dumped on your lap, but this PowerPoint is going to be available to you. Ali is going to provide it to you through mine. And then I'm hoping that this is just a beginning of our long-term relationship and here to serve. And okay, questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And folks, we are open for the Q&A, and you can either raise your hand. I'll give you an opportunity to speak to the professor directly, or you could put your questions in the question box. I see there are a number of questions already in the question box. There's one hitch that we are running short of time, so I'll try to take quick questions. But before we move to questions, let me also inform that Dr. Nadeem, in fact, is coming next month to Madinah for our leadership program, what we call PALM, Program for Advanced Leadership and Management. This is the 6th program of PALM, which we are conducting in Madinah. So you can always visit palm.mile.org to learn more about it. Also, Dr. Nadeem has a community of practice already active on our Mile community. I've already broadcasted the link on the chat, so you can always join it to interact with Dr. Nadeem through this interactive community available on Mile community. So let me move to the questions from the top. There's the first one, Doctor. I'll be quick on it also. In your experience, what are the top 5 reasons for failure of implementing a vision?
Beautiful. This is not an easy question because I have, in fact, what Ali just mentioned in the Mile marketing strategy all-day seminar. That is my first slide. So Ali, should I divulge that or give away? But I'll give you a few things. Why companies fail their vision? To me, the direct answer, most people say, is lack of funding. I think funding is one element of why the visions fail, but that's not really the reason why vision fail. One of the things that I think is important. I may not give you 5, but I'll give you a few. Number one, I think to me, I think, is the management team. Because if you, especially here in America, when you have a startup, you have a business plan, right? You go to a bank, you go to angel investors, you pitch your plan to people who can give you some money so you can start a business. You know what they see? Number one thing is who is with you. Are you alone? Or do you have a management team who have been there or done that, something in their life? Have they worked at a company? Have they started a company? Have they worked on product? Have they worked on a service or services? Because that will give confidence to a bank or an investor to invest money, time, and resources and give you contacts support you, nurture you, take you to the next level as you develop your product or services is the management team. Because nobody wants to lose, nobody wants to fail. So to me, number one reason why visions fail is because of the management of the team members. So having a surround yourself with a good group of people, could be 1, 2, 5, 10, based on how you're going to do it, because that is the key to a successful, really a viable and a sustainable vision. And remember, that vision is not a lasting vision statement. It has to be dynamic. You change not every month or every 2 months. You change as you think is needed to be changed, because technology, people, processes, habits are changing. So I think from at least I'll give you this is one thing that you really need to remember is visions fail because of a lack of a sound management team. Okay, next question.
Well, thank you. I think what you said in the last already you covered. There was a question which I repeat, but I think you've just answered. Should mission of organization in today's fast-paced world remain flexible for change, as organizations are continuously going through an evolution to learn the new dynamics through information overload? So I think you just answered that it's not a constant thing. You can continuously change it over a period.
Yes, and it has to be, when you talk about vision and mission, it has to be your objectives, your goals, and your tasks. They have to be aligned. If they're not aligned, then you are going in all different directions, and your vision and mission seriously will not help you. And sure. This is one of the other reasons why companies and mission vision fail. Alignment is the key. Okay, next question.
Good. Okay, question. What is the best way to introduce case study learning culture in an organization? Is it through proper facilitation via internal HR, or should it be a routine exercise moderated by line managers?
Okay, so if whether it's a company or an academic institution, and this is primarily, I was invited to Qasim University last week to go there and do this, because this is the beginning of their milestone for them to start this. And one of the things I suggested was, and there were industry people from different companies there in the Buraida and Qasim area. What I suggested to them is that there has to be at least one person passionate to drive this. His or her goal is to, no matter what happens, meaning that whether the funding is available or not, whether my CEO or my dean changes his or her mind or not, I am going to drive this over the next 1 to 2 years and never give up. Because what happens is a lot of people have good intention, but if there is no follow-up, if there is no driver to actually, remember that one of the art and craft of discussion leadership, I showed you these 5 points on that slide, the execution part. And who will execute? There has to be a driver. So as you introduce the concept of case methodology, case method or case workshop, however, in your company or academic institution is, there has to be passion and a driver to do this. And that person can mobilize other people, other groups of departments, other leadership, and sort of give the pitch and buy in their participation and engagement with the funding. Because remember, this requires money also. I mean, this is not an easy process, right? Time is required. People have to step away from their jobs, and if you're in a company situation, to go through this training. Because this is, to me, I don't know why people are not doing this. To me, this is an investment in a company or an institution to go to the next level. Because working and operating with a blank slate of mind is really not helpful. So there has to be a driver, there has to be a passion, there has to be an effort on the part of senior management to support with real funding. Okay, all right, next question.
Okay, okay, we did there's another one. Interesting one. How important is it to correlate our regional issues and challenges with the regional case studies, as we lack in this part of the world to document important case studies of regional success or failure stories? Standard practice is to keep on studying Harvard case studies here. Doctor, you there? Dr. Nadeem? Dr. Nadeem, can you hear me? Dr. Nadeem, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you complete the question?
Okay, sir. Can you hear me now? I think we had a audio hitch. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think we had a technical hitch on audio side. The question is, how important is it to correlate our regional issues and challenges with the regional case studies, as we lack in this part of the world to document important case studies of regional success or failure stories? Standard practice is to keep on studying Harvard case studies.
Okay, so you need to tell me which part of the world are you talking about, so I can give you a good answer.
I think it's the kingdom, Saudi Arabia, talking.
Okay, Saudi Arabia. And this is what I said in the Qasim region, because this is new, and this is one of the questions that was also. So I think what needs to be done, regional cases for regional management or business issues are important. You can really not solve your specific situation change or solve, address the case, study using Harvard or Darden or Ivy case. You can use them as a lesson. Don't stop it, because it has a lot of solutions, and it use this as a tool for you to solve your own local problems. But I think fundamentally what needs to be developed, and this is what an effort is being made not only at Qasim but hopefully mine and some other places, an effort to write your own cases. Business, management, engineering, medicine, law faculty, start writing your own cases and write teaching solutions. When you do that, teaching notes, when you do that, then you're addressing your own problems, and your MBA students, your employees can relate to that. You know, they can say, well, this happened in Jeddah, this happened in Madinah, this happened in Jazan or Buraida, right? So they can immediately have empathy, connection with the case, with the protagonist, right? With the situation. But it's going to take some time, and this is just a new thing that's beginning there. So hopefully over the next 3 to 5 years, I'm hoping the number of case study centers will develop in the kingdom and the Middle East area. And I'm ready. I'm here to offer the support for those initiatives if you need my help and support. Okay, next one.
Another quick one. We can take 2 more. So folks, tell us about some tricks to engage participants, ensuring that all participants of a particular case study do contribute rather than remaining silent.
Okay, so what I suggest, what I actually did in the last week seminar at Qasim University, what I also do in my my seminars and classes here in the Bay Area University here, is that I assign points for each case. Because, you know, I mean, if you just leave it to students and employees saying that, you know, Dr. Nadeem is coming tomorrow and you got to be there, they will be there. But if you don't give them assignment, something to do, but if you don't, with that assignment, if you don't attach some reward or some points, if it's a classroom situation, or some promotion, say you're a manager, if you want to become a senior manager, you got to go through these 1, 2, 3 things. So have something attached to that reward, right? So when you do that, they will be engaged. They will at least turn the pages and see what's going on. They have to participate because you're saying your promotion, your reappointment, your bonus, your move to the next class is dependent on what you do here. And I do it. When I started doing that, the results are amazing because nobody wants to be stuck at the same place, right? So they want to have a better title, better position, perhaps an A in a class, And I also say, particularly in a company situation, because employees are motivated by a variety of means. Some people have a lot of money, so they don't care about money. So they don't need money, right? Some people want title. They don't care about something else. So people are motivated by different reasons. Students are motivated by different reasons. So you need to know them, how to reward them, engage them by focusing on what they need. One of the things I suggested to you last week is that, if you want a picture with the CEO or the dean of your school, you got to go through this. You got to spend 10 minutes on this, an hour on this, have a big restaurant. I mean, I don't know how you want to do it. Do it in a way employees and students, and then at the end, they get something in return. Okay, that's how you should do it, to be engaged. All right, next one.
Okay, one last question, sir, a short one. What are your views on computer simulation exercises for a more interactive participation?
Computers, games, computer simulations, I think they are good. But what we have seen, students coming from a biology background, history background, or a music background, not necessarily coming from a business or a mathematics or a statistics background, they may not be that interested in your simulation. So you have to arrange your professional development seminar for your employees or your classroom in a way. Look at the makeup of the students. Who are in your students? If I have a history majors or non-math, statistics, accounting, and these kind of people who play with the numbers, right? If they're not in that classroom and you are using a simulation or a game, computer game, I don't know how successful you will be. You may assign points for that, and they may be doing it just to go through the class, get a B or C or training, or have them boss sign checklist checked off, right? But they will not really learn much because they are not interested. So you decide. I'm not trying to put down the simulation. I've taught this, I've used simulations, but my experience says that it depends on who is in the audience. Some people are computer whiz, right? I mean, you give them any game, they'll talk that game. Some don't. So you want to teach your students so they grow as leaders and they achieve something in the process. And that's your goal as a leader and professor, right? So you decide. All right, wonderful.
Okay, sir, that really brings us towards the end of the webinar, and I would like to thank you on behalf of Mile for giving us this very, very interesting presentation. Any concluding remarks that you would like to give before we dismiss out?
Thank you, Ali. Thank you, attendees. How many are left at the end of this seminar? But I'm hoping that on the YouTube and other places, people will benefit from this, what we have shared here. And such an opportunity. I'm really grateful for Mile and Ali and all of you for the opportunity to share my thoughts here on the case methodology. Concluding remarks, I have already said 3 things. Number 1, adopt a case. Number 2, use that case. Number 3, develop the leadership, your employees, your students. Because unless you do it, then this whole exercise will not mean anything. And you have to do it immediately. Use this, download, adopt, use it for yourself, for your employees, for your students. Today, don't delay. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. I'm really honored. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Folks, all of those who participated, thank you very much, and thank you for posing the questions and making it an interactive experience for all of us. This webinar is being recorded. We will be uploading it on our YouTube channel, as Dr. mentioned, and it will be available on Mile Community, along with the soft copy of this presentation for you to download. We shall intimate you in the next couple of days, so stay tuned with us. With that note, I would like to thank everybody again. You all have a good day, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're calling from. So, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.